Welcome back to the place where we get real about celebrity lives and dive into the stories that everyone's buzzing about right now. If you love getting the inside scoop on what's really happening behind the scenes with your favorite stars, you're in exactly the right spot, and you need to hit that subscribe button, because we're all about keeping it authentic and building a space where we can talk about these moments together, without all the fluff. Justin Bieber just dropped some seriously honest revelations during his Twitch streams, and what he shared about a major fight during the birth of his baby has people talking everywhere. This isn't your typical celebrity fluff piece where everything is sunshine and rainbows. Justin got real about what actually went down in the delivery room and the tension that erupted between him, Hailey, and their birth team. The whole situation gives us a rare glimpse into what was supposed to be one of the most beautiful moments of their lives, but ended up being way more complicated than anyone expected.
So here's what went down.
Justin explained that when Hailey was in labor and preparing to give birth, they had both a doula and a nurse present to help with the delivery. For those who might not know, a doula is essentially a professional birth coach who provides physical and emotional support during labor. The problem started when the doula and the nurse weren't seeing eye to eye on things. They were clashing over approaches and techniques, which immediately created this awkward atmosphere in a space that should have been calm and supportive. But it didn't stop there. Justin found himself getting into it with the doula as well. He described feeling pushed aside like his role as the father wasn't being respected or valued. The doula was taking charge in ways that made Justin feel like he couldn't step in and support his wife the way he wanted to. He was watching Hailey go through this intense experience, and his instinct was to be there for her, to comfort her, to help her through it. But instead, he felt like he was being relegated to the sidelines while someone else dictated how things should go. Justin admitted that his emotions were running extremely high during this time. This was the birth of his first child, one of the biggest moments of his entire life, and he was dealing with all these feelings while also trying to navigate conflict with someone who was supposed to be helping them. He said he came across really strong with the doula, probably more aggressive than he needed to be in the moment. The tension in the room was affecting everyone, and Hailey could feel it adding to her stress during an already stressful situation. Hailey actually had to tell Justin that he needed to apologize to the doula because his behavior was making her feel anxious. Here she was going through labor, and she had to manage the conflict happening around her on top of everything else her body was experiencing. Justin recognized that his intensity was adding to the problem rather than helping, so he went ahead and apologized. He told the doula that he was sorry and explained that his emotions were just heightened because this moment meant so much to him. What Justin emphasized was that he didn't want his role as the father to be diminished or pushed aside. He said he has good instincts when it comes to taking care of Hailey and being present for important moments. He felt like the doula was inserting herself into situations where he wanted to be the one consoling his wife and being her primary support system. Yes, the doula has training and expertise in helping women through childbirth, but Justin is Hailey's husband and the father of their baby. He wanted to be the one holding her hand, talking her through contractions, and being her anchor during the intensity of labor. Justin talked about how there were specific moments where he knew Hailey needed him, and he wanted to be the person to provide that comfort. But he felt like the doula would step in before he could, taking over in ways that made him feel unnecessary. He understood that doulas do important work like helping with body positioning and other techniques to help move labor along. He was fine with her doing those technical things. What frustrated him was when she crossed into the emotional support territory that he felt belonged to him as Hailey's partner. The whole situation brings up interesting questions about roles and boundaries during childbirth. On one hand, you have trained professionals who have helped dozens or even hundreds of women through labor and delivery. They know what works, they know how to handle complications, and they know how to keep things moving in a positive direction. On the other hand, you have partners and fathers who have their own deep emotional connection to the person giving birth and want to be active participants in welcoming their child into the world. Justin's willingness to talk about this so openly is actually pretty refreshing. A lot of celebrity dads don't get into the messy details of what the birth experience was really like for them. They post the perfect announcement photo and maybe share some generic thoughts about how grateful they are, but they don't talk about the conflicts or the hard moments or the times when things didn't go smoothly. Justin sharing this story shows that even when you have all the resources in the world and can hire the best professionals, childbirth is still complicated and emotional, and sometimes things get tense. The fact that he took accountability for how he handled the situation is important too. He didn't try to paint himself as the victim or act like the doula was completely out of line, and he was totally in the right. He admitted that he came on too strong and that his emotional state made him react in ways that weren't helpful. That takes self-awareness and maturity to recognize that even when you're feeling justified in your frustration, the way you express that frustration can create more problems. Justin doing these Twitch streams, in general, has been this whole thing that people have had mixed reactions to. Some fans absolutely love getting this unfiltered access to him and seeing him just hang out and talk about his life in real time. Other people think it's strange or unnecessary, or that he's oversharing. But regardless of how you feel about the concept, there's no denying that it's given people a very different view of who Justin Bieber is right now compared to the carefully curated image most celebrities present. He's letting people see him in a completely raw and unedited way. There's no PR team polishing every word before it goes out. There's no carefully selected photos that only show the best angles and the perfect moments. It's just him sitting there streaming for hours, talking about whatever comes to mind, responding to fans in real time, and being honest about his experiences. That level of transparency is pretty rare in celebrity culture where image control is usually the top priority. The birth story in particular resonates because so many parents have had similar experiences where the medical team or birth professionals didn't quite align with what they wanted or needed. Maybe they felt pressured into certain interventions they didn't want. Maybe they felt like their concerns weren't being heard. Maybe they had conflicts with nurses or doctors who had different philosophies about how birth should go. These situations happen all the time in hospitals and birthing centers around the world. So, hearing Justin talk about it makes him relatable in a way that a lot of celebrity content doesn't. Justin also mentioned in the stream how he felt this instinctual pull to be protective and present during the birth. He kept emphasizing that these feelings were natural and that he trusted himself to know what Hailey needed. That confidence in his own instincts as a father is something that develops for a lot of new dads. There's often this assumption that mothers automatically know what to do and fathers are just there to support from the sidelines, but Justin was making it clear that he had his own strong sense of how to be there for his family during this critical moment. The tension he described between wanting professional help but also wanting space to trust his own judgment is something many parents struggle with. You hire experts because you want guidance and support, but then sometimes those experts take over in ways that make you feel like you're not being trusted to make decisions or care for your own family. Finding the balance between accepting help and maintaining autonomy is tricky, especially in high-stress situations like childbirth, where everything is happening fast and emotions are running wild. What makes this story even more interesting is thinking about how Hailey experienced all of this. She was the one actually going through labor, dealing with contractions and pain, and the physical demands of bringing a baby into the world. On top of all that, she had to be aware of the tension between her husband and the doula, and actually had to intervene to get Justin to smooth things over. That's a lot to handle when you're literally in the middle of giving birth. It shows how much mental and emotional labor often falls on mothers, even during moments when they should be able to focus entirely on themselves. Justin sharing this story also opens up conversations about what fathers go through during childbirth. A lot of attention rightfully goes to mothers and their experiences, but fathers have their own emotional journey happening simultaneously. They're watching someone they love go through pain and struggle. They're feeling the weight of becoming a parent. They're trying to be supportive while also processing their own fears and excitement. They sometimes feel helpless or unsure of how to help. All of those feelings are valid and worth talking about. The apology Justin gave to the doula after Hailey asked him to shows that he was able to set aside his ego and recognize that keeping the peace was more important than being right. A lot of people struggle with apologizing, especially when they feel justified in their anger or frustration. But Justin realized that making Hailey more anxious wasn't worth standing his ground with the doula. He put his wife's needs above his own pride, which is what partnership is supposed to look like in those difficult moments. It's also worth noting that Justin seems genuinely grateful for becoming a father and excited about this new chapter of his life. Even when he's talking about the difficult parts of the birth experience, there's this underlying joy and amazement at what they went through together. He's not complaining for the sake of complaining. He's processing a complex experience that had both beautiful and challenging elements, which is honestly what most major life events are like when you really break them down. The response from fans has been largely positive, with people appreciating his honesty and vulnerability. Comments have been flooding in from other parents sharing their own birth stories and talking about similar conflicts they faced. That sense of community and shared experience is part of what makes these kinds of revelations valuable. When public figures talk about the messy reality of their lives, it helps other people feel less alone in their own messy realities. There have been some critics who think Justin shouldn't be airing these kinds of details publicly, or that he's violating Hailey's privacy by discussing their birth experience. But from what Justin shared, it seems like he and Hailey are on the same page about what he talks about on his streams. He's not revealing anything that seems deeply private or embarrassing. He's just being honest about a conflict that happened and how they worked through it, which feels different from exploiting intimate moments for attention. The whole situation with the doula and the nurse not getting along is unfortunate because that dynamic probably affected the energy in the room for everyone. When the professionals who are supposed to be working together as a team are instead competing or disagreeing, it creates unnecessary stress for the parents who are already dealing with enough. Birth teams should ideally be cohesive and supportive of each other so that the laboring person and their partner can focus on the task at hand without having to manage adult conflicts. Justin's emphasis on his instincts as a father is something that more dads should feel empowered to trust. There's sometimes this idea that only mothers have parental instincts, or that fathers need to be taught everything by mothers or by professionals. But fathers have their own intuitive understanding of their children and their partners. Trusting those instincts while also being open to guidance from people with more experience is the balance that makes for good parenting. Looking at the bigger picture, this story is just one small piece of Justin and Hailey's journey into parenthood. They're going to face countless other challenges and conflicts and moments where they have to figure things out together. The fact that they already went through something difficult during the birth and came out the other side having learned from it is a good sign for how they'll handle future obstacles. Every couple has their own unique struggles, and what matters is how they communicate and support each other through those struggles. Justin's Twitch streaming experiment has definitely changed how people see him and given fans access they've never had before. Whether he continues doing it long-term or eventually scales back, this period of extreme openness has already impacted his public image in significant ways. People are seeing him as more human, more relatable, more willing to be vulnerable than the guarded version of himself that existed for years. That authenticity is connecting with audiences in ways that carefully managed celebrity personas often can't. The birth story specifically will probably stick with people because it's such a universal experience. Almost everyone has either given birth, supported someone through birth, or has strong feelings about how birth should be handled. Justin adding his voice to those conversations and being honest about the complicated emotions involved contributes to a broader cultural dialogue about parenthood and partnership and what it means to show up for your family during the most intense moments. So there you have it. The full story of what Justin revealed about the major fight during his baby's birth and why it matters that he's talking about these things so openly. It's refreshing to see celebrities being real about the hard parts of life instead of just showing the highlight reel. If you enjoyed getting into this story with me and want more honest conversations about what's really happening in celebrity world, make sure you subscribe and join this community we're building where we can break down these moments together and keep it real about what's going on in pop culture.